Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Westford School Committee meeting for April 13th, 2020. Thank you for, 2021. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday. We moved our meeting from our typical Monday because yesterday was the first day and night of Ramadan. So for anyone who is celebrating Ramadan, we wish you an easy fast, and we will be returning to our normal Monday schedule for our next meeting, which will be after April break on April 26th. So as usual, Airtable is open for any comments or questions. I will remind you anything posted in Airtable is part of the public record, and we will circle back to public comment once people have a chance to enter things after we've done our informational updates. So with that, informational update to you, Bill.
All right, thank you, Gloria. And as you said, Ramadan Kareem. We wish everyone a happy Ramadan. Also, our friends, our colleagues, our neighbors. Do want to say once again with great pride about our music program. The National Association of Music Merchants has designated the Westford Public Schools as one of the top music programs in the country, again for the 8th consecutive year, one of the best communities for music education. So we're very proud of our staff, our coordinators, and our students. The Blanchard School, from the Blanchard School, the 7th and 8th grade students from the Blanchard and the Stony Brook will be participating in the virtual peer leadership summit. That will take place tomorrow by the Anti-Defamation League. And these A World of Difference peer leaders will attend inspirational keynote speeches and workshops alongside advisors Amy Bailey, Catherine Pastori, Meg Ryle, and Kelly Wolber. And the four of them have been very active on our diversity, equity, and inclusion team. They have been very responsible for putting together the May 4th professional development training on DEI, and they will be with you at the next meeting to give you a little bit of a view of what the professional development day will entail for our staff. And I want to congratulate the senior class at Westford Academy for the Olympics that are taking place in Spirit Week this week for all students. I've had many pictures here from Betsy Murphy that I will share with you in the morning. They're having a wonderful, safe time bonding together and connecting and really bringing out the spirit of Westford Academy. We've had an excellent first week of return in our school system. As of the close of last Friday, Christine Jusson, the president of the WEA, sent Kerry and I a very nice email saying it was a great week. The staff was all smiles. The students were all smiles. As I indicated to you in one of my visits to the schools, one of the students said this is the best day ever because of it back in school. And so we thank all of our staff again for the extraordinary work that they've devoted to making this school year work from day one of the school year, and certainly their preparation and extraordinary work for the full return. And as you know, grades 6 through 12 begin on April 26th. Last week, I was able to do the part 2 of School Finance 101. It was focused on what the budget, mechanics of the budget look like. It was not as such a budget presentation, but gives everyone a little bit more of an insight in terms of the coding requirements, the chart of account requirements that the DESE has that we, and along with all of the school systems, must comply with. So it's not simply a process of putting numbers down on paper. There's a very detailed methodology behind it. With the upcoming vacation week, once again, and I'll be sending something out tomorrow afternoon, we want to remind everybody of the travel advisory, the revised travel advisory that came through the last week in March from the state. That will be sent out by a ConnectEd message from my office. We want to make sure everyone has a great vacation, but returns safely and keeps our school system safe. I had a wonderful time yesterday teaching a weather lesson in Tracy Marr's class at the Crisafulli School. The questions from the students were just outstanding. I mean, they were very attentive, very engaged. They had a great number of questions for me, including, and I'm still trying to figure this one out, if someone can help me. A young student asked, Mr. Olson, I did a research project a year ago on lightning. And I'm going to ask you, can you tell me what's safest in reducing the possibility of being harmed by lightning? Being in a suit of armor, having nothing on, or wearing pajamas? And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure. So I'm going to have to look up the answer to that question, but I let him know that I was very impressed with the research that he had done, and I didn't want him to tell me the answer because I would find it out on myself. But what wonderful, wonderful students, and great questions about thunder and lightning and clouds and tornadoes and hurricanes and snowstorms. And as you know, I've loved meteorology my entire life, and most people say, gee, I'm sorry that you have to get up so early to make a decision on school. And I tell them I love every minute of it because it's exciting. So hopefully I'll do that again before the end of the year. We had a great diversity, equity, inclusion meeting last week and a great COVID advisory committee meeting last week. We are continuing to move along. And I'll give you a little update on the kindergarten situation in terms of enrollment sections and the sizes of those sections, and waiting list or no waiting list this year. You know, everything is kind of aligning this year like it did not do at the end of last year. So with that, I'll stop and let Kerry address you.
Thank you. Well, we are thrilled, as Bill mentioned, to have students back. Last week, I enjoyed welcoming students upon arrival at the Robinson and the Crisafulli, and the staff and their energy as they welcomed students into the building was like no other. It felt like the biggest holiday of the year, and people were dancing and people were singing, and the students, you know, some of them fearful because they haven't been in a school, were just wonderful. And from what I observed, not a single tear. The staff were very organized. The students knew exactly where to go, and it was an incredible experience. I actually didn't want to go back to the office. Then I also just have another MCAS update because it continues to evolve as we get closer and closer to the testing dates. The commissioner has recently modified the English and math competency determination requirements for the class of 2022. So those are our current juniors, because of the missed opportunities of taking the MCAS previously, like last spring when they were sophomores. This spring's test administration will not be required for juniors as it was originally scheduled to be. Also, one of the big changes for this year that recently came through was that districts will be able to offer remote administration to our RLA families in grades 3 through 8 for all 3 subject area tests, ELA, math, and science. There are some details in the information, but on April 29th, we will participate in a full training on just how to do that. So we have more questions than answers at this point, but we will be ready to go with whatever it is we have to do in May and June for testing. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you both. Any updates from school committee other than other items that are on our agenda? Alicia.
Just wanted to quickly add, Bill mentioned we had a DEI meeting last week, and I'm so very impressed with the professional development plan for the 4th. It sounds phenomenal. We also started to discuss policy subcommittee had some students bring some concerns to us recently, and one of them was how we observe and communicate observations around religious and cultural holidays. So we've started having that discussion about how we communicate that to our families and to our staff, and how we create a fluency around what students may or may not need during that time. So I'm looking forward to continuing that conversation as well.
May I just, William, may I just add in, thank you for mentioning that, Alicia, because one of the things that we're going to start to work on right away is the great idea that we're going to have maybe divide the calendar up a little bit more than it has been with clickable links on each event, each cultural or religious observance that will bring the viewers to an explanation of what the significance is of that cultural or religious observance, the greetings, what it means for students. I'm really excited about that because I'm not aware of any other school system doing that, but it was an idea that someone advanced at the meeting, and we're going to start working on that right away.
Yeah, that was really great. I'm really excited about that too.
Great, that sounds wonderful. Other updates, Valerie?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank, I'm not entirely sure who was organizing the blood drive at WA last week and today, but it was very well organized and safe and socially distant and smooth. So thank you to the people behind the scenes for that.
Any other committee updates? How about student updates? Brian, Hannah, any updates?
Nothing much from the students. The past couple weeks at WA, it's been like Spirit Week for like the seniors. So it's our like gonna be our last week in school. So we decided to do like a Spirit Week. So it's been a lot of like pajamas and dresses and tuxes in the school, or like suits. So that's been fun. A lot of events for the seniors, like that student council and the class officers have been doing, has been great for like just our last week of school before we head out. I think a lot of people are looking forward to vacation now.
Sorry, lost my mute button. Hannah, anything additional?
Oh, I think Brian pretty much covered it. I think there's a lot of school spirit going on right now, and everyone's looking forward to break. So
Sounds great. Absolutely. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to break and hopefully after break as well. Congrats to all the seniors, and I hope everyone's being able to enjoy a fun week last week and this week. We will now, unless I've missed anything, anybody waving at me, not seeing any hands. So we will circle back to public comment. Thanks for your patience. Always gives us a little bit of time to see. It looks like we do have one person who is requesting to speak live. So Chris, is it possible to promote her? Welcome, Elizabeth. You know the drill. So when you're with us, just to be official, obviously we know you, but name and address and give us your comment.
Good evening, Elizabeth Almeida. I live at 41 West Street, and I have a few questions tonight. First, I heard that Mike Colson's case was dismissed today. Can anyone here verify that?
Elizabeth, I also heard that, but we are waiting for verification from the district attorney's office.
Okay. So will he be back in school?
You know, that's something I can't comment on, but let me just answer your question this way. We are actively addressing, the school committee and I are actively addressing the situation right now. I will say to you that as a superintendent, I will not put any children at risk in any way, shape, or form. I prefer not to make any other comment, and I know you understand that as a former select board member. Just know that we are in very active communication through our labor attorney with addressing this matter.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that you are limited in what you can speak, and what you can say about this situation, but I can't say strongly enough how, as a member of the community, I don't like the idea that we're paying someone who has, for given the behavior that he exhibited and what we were all on the receiving end of during the past year. So on behalf of the taxpayers, I wanted to say that to the entire school committee, to keep that in mind. And I hope this gets resolved as quickly as possible on behalf of all the taxpayers and also for all the victims in this situation. I think we were all on the receiving end of what he did. And I know there were people in the community who were hurt far worse than what the elected board members, had, far more significant things said to them. And I would urge all of you to stand with the victims in this situation and to do what you can to support them and to take whatever action is necessary or that you can take to protect the students and the members of our community.
Just please know that to you and all of the other residents that we are working very appropriately and very responsibly through our Labor Council.
Thank you. And I mean, you probably already expect this. I will be checking back in at these meetings because I do think the public wants to and deserves to know what's happening in this situation and is expecting resolution soon.
We understand.
Thank you.
Thank you for checking in, Elizabeth. We do appreciate the comment. Please know that obviously the health and well-being of our students is our number one concern. And that is not an issue of immediate concern because the staff member in question is currently on leave. Beyond that, we have a responsibility to our staff to respect the legal process and also to respect any appropriate personnel process. The superintendent is in charge of personnel matters, and any decisions need to be made in an appropriate timetable with appropriate information and with consultation with legal counsel. So thank you, Elizabeth, for checking in, and for other members of the public who have continued to check in with us privately on this matter. We understand it is an issue of concern, and absolutely appropriate steps will be taken and appropriate processes will be followed. So thank you for the concern. Any other comments on this bill, or are we ready to move on to our agenda?
No, I think we're ready to move on.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your patience as well. So spring full return update. I know we've also addressed it a bit, but do we have other updates on the spring full return?
Well, we have been talking with the principals of the high school, the middle schools, Jim Antonelli, Chris Chu, and Tim Hislop about any preparations that they may need assistance with. They just informed Kerry and I again today that they seem to be in good shape and ready for the 26th. Our staff is certainly ready. I want to thank really our elementary staff and our custodians for the extraordinary job they did in putting together, erecting all of the desks with the legs that came separate and chairs in place. I think some of you saw probably on a brief news clip last week, everything is facing in the same direction, appropriately spaced, particularly in those areas of cafeteria and eating and snack areas. We have tents that have been erected. So the staff has been wonderful, and I'm very pleased that they feel that we've done as much as any other school district because they talk with colleagues elsewhere in addressing the personal protection equipment, cleaning protocols, and disinfecting frequently. So that we're just very pleased. It's as Kerry said, we've been extraordinarily excited, and I think unless there is a significant ramp up, and we are seeing an increase certainly in the numbers right now, hopefully we'll be able to complete the rest of the school year. I do want to let you know, and this is what I want to underscore with the parents once again, is first of all, thank you for not sending your symptomatic students to school. It is probably one of the most serious situations that we could become involved with, and that is a symptomatic child coming to school. And so I want to thank everyone for being very diligent in their attention to that. At the present time, I will let you know that we have 21 students who have tested positive and 3 staff members. Now, these are situations that happen outside of the school environment, but sometimes they do involve a close contact of a student or a staff member in our school system. At the present time, we now have 113 students who are considered close contact and out on quarantine, and 19 staff members. Now, that is one of the highest numbers we have ever had in the school system. And I think people sometimes are perhaps letting their guard down a little bit. So I guess my message is please stay masked. Please be appropriately distanced in your neighborhood, at functions, because we just don't want the proliferation of this virus in the school system. We want to have the kids and the staff in at all times for the remainder of the school year. What we heard from the physicians in the COVID Advisory Committee last week is that the variants, particularly the UK variant, seems to be quite a strenuous strain and is more readily transmittable. Does the vaccine work against it? Yes, but once again, it is possible, even with both your vaccination, to contract the virus. It just mitigates the symptoms and the need for hospitalization, but it is real, it's out there. And so we need to work together to make sure we keep our kids and our staff in school. Right? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to turn it into a COVID-19 discussion, but that's the reality that we're dealing with right now.
I think it's a good reminder to everyone, Bill, and I would add, that we would certainly encourage everyone to exercise caution during the April break, and that for any families who might choose to travel, that we ask them to respect all Massachusetts state guidance and requirements for travel, and either testing or quarantine upon return from travel. Anything we can do to reinforce those messages, I think, is always really helpful. Anything additional on the return, Carrie?
Yes, I'd just like to ask any parents out there who might be available to consider signing up to be a day-to-day substitute, and that can be found right on our website under the Human Resource Department link. And as I said, we had a very successful opening at the K-5 level, but there was a day or two where there was a big question mark because of some staff absences, whether it be some staff having, being in close contact or side effects from the vaccine. But Bill and I had our sneakers on ready to go to be in the schools and on the floor with kids and reading with them under the desks if we were called in to be a substitute. And it would be great if we had a larger bank of subs. And I understand why this year might be more difficult to get that. But if there's anybody who's listening who's interested, we would love to have you.
We've certainly received numerous emails from parents who desperately wanted our schools to be open. So I think this is kind of our opportunity to ask those parents, for anyone who's out in the community and does have the ability and the time to serve as a substitute. Carrie, can you speak again to exactly where they would need to go and what the process is like for someone who does have the ability to come in and help during a time of need? What would they need to do?
Yes, so if they go to our website, on the top nav bar, there's a link called Human Resources, and right in there you'll be able to find a short Google form that you can fill out, and it will get placed right in the mailbox of the Human Resource Coordinator. And so the paperwork from there can begin to be filled out, query form and all of that, but it's a really simple process.
May I just say, Gloria, also, just picking up on what Carrie said, when they click the human resource item in the banner top, on the left-hand side, there will be some options. Click on the employment opportunities. And as Carrie said, that will take you right to the substitute application.
Great, thank you for that information. Anyone who's out there listening, certainly members of school committee, anything we can do to get the word out to the community that a larger pool of substitute teachers would be really, really helpful for keeping the doors open this spring. That would be great. Anything else on full return? Any questions on full return from committee members, or are we on to budget? Nobody's waving. Okay, so I believe we are on to FY22 budget update.
Well, we had another good meeting with the Finance Committee and Select Board last Thursday night, reviewing our budget. There were relatively few questions compared to the first meeting, which is pretty standard. But want to thank the FinCom and the Select Board for doing a very thorough review of our budget, along with all of you. You submitted some excellent questions, and they did also. I hope we were very complete in the answers we provided. And so at this point in time, in talking with the town manager, she's very pleased, and the Select Board is very pleased. She was only speaking on behalf of the Select Board, that they were very pleased with the fact that we're able to meet the town's appropriation level. Obviously, as you know, we supplement that with alternative revenues. But I'm looking forward to moving throughout the rest of this fiscal year with meeting our fiscal obligations in 21 over the last fiscal quarter, and also hoping to return a little bit of money to the town so that all town departments, including the school system, can be leveraged to a certain extent financially for next fiscal year. So I think it's, given the circumstances and limited revenues, things have just fallen together beautifully, and I think there's reason for great optimism in going through the last 3 months of the fiscal quarter here in fiscal 21 and moving into fiscal 22. As part of your budget update, I do want to let you know that the full-day kindergarten classes are such that we have no waiting list at the present time. That I think we were able to send out some numbers to you this afternoon, the latest numbers at the NABNASSET. As you know, we have 4 sections, 19, 19, 19, and 20. And then we have 1 half-day section of 19, no waiting list. At the Robinson, we have 4 sections, 19, 19, 19, 19, and a small section of 9 in terms of half-day. Now, that's an area that we may want to look at in my upcoming recommendation to you on school choice, okay? But no waiting list at the Robinson. And at the Miller, we have 3 sections of 19, 19, and 18, and a half-day section of 20, which is up there a little bit, but still acceptable, and no waiting list. So it is, once again, just good news to present to you that there are not a lot of parents who are stressing over the fact that their child is not able to get into full-day kindergarten right now. Now, as we go through, if we have some additional registrations, that will be a different story. But as of right now, and there are almost, I think it's 237 kindergarten registrations. And I believe I projected about 240 to 245, if I remember correctly. As of right now, it's great news that there's no waiting list.
So questions on budget and or the kindergarten update. Avery.
So Bill, with the kindergarten, does that mean no afternoon kindergarten because everybody got into full day or are in a morning half day?
Yeah, you were broken up a little bit, Avery. Did you ask about extended day?
No, I said, do we not have PM kindergarten now because we only have one section of half day?
That's correct.
Okay. And we're looking at the 9 is a little concerning budget wise. And do we think that the school choice, I mean, that's a big number on school choice to fill. Would we ever move people from other schools over there?
We might. Please know also that we have about, if I remember correctly, about 6 or 7 children of our staff who are entering kindergarten this next year, and they have requested, in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement, to have their children enrolled. And so my feeling is that we locate them at the Robinson School in that half-day session.
I guess my follow-up question to that, Bill, would be, those sections are all looking very full, with the exception of the half day at Robinson. So if there are additional registrations over the summer, would we potentially be in this situation where we might need to add a half day section at NAB or Miller?
That's a possibility. That's why I think throughout the remainder of this school year, we'll keep you informed of what the projected enrollment looks like for next year, particularly at the kindergarten level and first grade, since we know that there will be some children who have attended private kindergartens licensed by the state outside of our school system who will be attending grade 1. Those are the kindergarten and grade 1 are always kind of the wild cards in terms of accuracy of estimating. So we'll keep you informed of that, but it is entirely conceivable that over the summer there could be another half section added at a particular school or schools. That wouldn't be anything out of the norm.
Well, thank you. I'm really grateful that everything worked out this year, and that, you know, everyone who was requesting full day as part of the lottery was able to be accommodated. So that's fantastic. I'm sure parents will be resting easy knowing that. Other questions? Valerie?
Are any of those morning half-day sections going to have extended day available?
We're determining right now how many people might be interested in that. If it's too small, we won't do the extended day. You know, the most likely candidate would be at the Miller School as opposed to the Robinson. However, if we get up to 16, 17, 18 students ultimately through staff, children entering kindergarten and school choice children entering kindergarten, we may possibly offer it at the Robinson also.
And are you not mentioning NAB?
Oh,
because-
excuse me, and the NAB. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to neglect the NAB. We were focused kind of on the Miller and the Robinson. I forgot all about the NAB, so I'm sorry. Yes, we'll take a look at the NAB also in terms of interest in extended day.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because usually I feel like it's a space issue, but if that classroom is empty in the afternoon, then it would be open for possible extended day if the numbers are there.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to indicate that particularly the NAB, it could be a space issue. And so we would have to, in all likelihood, use that very classroom.
Right. And what does that look like for summer, for if those numbers start to creep up from 19 and 20 of those at NAB and Miller, those half-day sections? At what point do you decide to split it into AM and PM?
Well, if we got to the point where we had, I'd say 25, 26 students, we'd certainly split them, even up as much as 24. We'd split the sections. I mean, they'd be small, but there's where you don't want to make any decision to cut staff with some lower enrollments from time to time, because the following year we could have a larger enrollment coming in. It generally takes a trend of a couple of years. And so if those numbers do creep up, Chris will be back to you along with Kerry during the summer, and I'm sure seeking another half section.
So those families probably shouldn't bank on being AM until later in the summer. Like there's no guarantee.
As of right now, there will be AM, but I will be speaking with the principals and saying, look, just please send out a cautionary note that if the numbers continue with registrations at kindergarten, that we may in fact need to have an AM and PM section. In a school like the NAB, that would really pretty much eliminate the extended day program.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Avery?
I'm not sure if it's now or later, or I didn't know if Bill or Carrie could comment on the preschool lottery and how that went and how we're looking for numbers with the preschool now that hopefully we can enroll community students again.
Terry, do you have the information on, and I'm sorry, I don't have the information on the preschool lottery.
Yes, so that lottery took place, I believe, last Friday, and we had 44 slots in the lottery, 16 at Robinson and Miller and 12 at Nabnasset, all of which are filled, and the waiting lists are between 55 and 60 at each school. So there's quite a demand. And April 26th is the deposit deadline, and in many cases, there are people who do get selected and then choose during this time to decide that they are not going to move forward with it, in which case, of course, we'll move down the wait list to the next person.
Any other questions on budget items? Okay, then we appreciate all the updates. And next up is spring sports. And
And we
fall.
do, I will say that we do have Jeff Bunyan, who is hanging on in case you have some questions. But as you know, Jeff has forwarded to us the list of spring sports that he is recommending to myself and to you. I will say that I am recommending at the high school level that we do continue to allow students to participate in baseball, cheer, crew, lacrosse, softball, track and field, volleyball, and tennis this spring. My recommendation is to not allow wrestling, because that is a sport that really involves very close contact at all times. And with the aggressive nature of it, certainly opportunities for masks to be, down or misplaced. And so I don't feel comfortable at all recommending it. I will not recommend wrestling to you, but I do recommend all of the other spring sports that Jeff has brought to you, along with the middle school sports of baseball, softball, and track and field.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Jeff, for joining us. In case anyone has questions, I was really happy to see the addition of some middle school options. I appreciate that our middle schoolers will have some athletic options this spring. Questions from the committee? Anything? I guess my one question was just pertaining to wrestling. I know, Bill, you said it would not be your recommendation. I believe Jeff's memo said that was still kind of up in the air at the MIAA level, but is your suggestion that at this time, even if the MIAA did decide to proceed with wrestling in some form, that you would not recommend approving it?
I would not recommend it. And I take seriously also the comments from the physicians on the COVID advisory committee. And I think at last week's meeting, I got a clear understanding from them that they would not feel comfortable with wrestling.
Sean?
Jeff, are any of the dual county league schools doing wrestling?
First of all, thanks for having me on. At this point, the MIAA and the EEA, they have not taken a position on full participation in wrestling. So really everyone's in a holding pattern, and it doesn't look like many schools are going to approve it, even if it was approved at the state level. But there's still just a lot of discussion surrounding that. And at this point, it's only been approved for like practice with no contact at all. And it really is something that they're still looking at. So to answer your question, I don't believe so, but I can't confirm that yet. But at my most recent conference call today, it was people were not, dual county schools were not moving forward. But again, it was an individual decision, but still additional guidance waiting to come out. So I would agree with Superintendent Olson's recommendation on this as well.
Thanks, Jeff.
I realized I had another question, Jeff. I've noticed that cheer is on the fall 2 list, but is also on the spring list. So it was fall 2 was cheer a more of a spirit sideline activity, and is now cheer going to be a competitive sport in the spring? What's the nature?
We always have 2 seasons of chair. We have a fall and a winter chair, so we're just following up on a second season. But they have opened up additional competitions as long as they're following the safety guidelines with different stunting limitations and so forth. So that's the reason for that recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Did I see another hand, Ming Chen?
My question is like, so for wrestling, can they still practice?
There's different levels that they can. It's more for conditioning, and we did not have out of season coaching with wrestling, so we haven't moved forward with that in any capacity due to the physical close contact nature of that sport. Nor do we ever look for an approval on that, because it was something that was, the MIA slated it for spring 2021 if things changed, and if the MIAA and the EEA could really get together in the sports medicine committee as far as how they could proceed forth with participating in that. So at this point, no, we were not planning on moving forward with anything pertaining to that, because there's just so much question surrounding it.
Chris.
Just to be clear on the info sheet that was in the packet, it mentions buses for middle schools. I assume at the high school level, it's going to be individual transportation as it's been.
That's the intention, to continue with that process. And with regard to transportation, it's something that we're still looking at. Conversations with Renee D as far as trying to provide transportation from Blanchard to Stony Brook, because that's where the facilities are that the student athletes participate in. But at this time, we're still looking at it. We know that there's going to be limited capacity. We need to follow all the guidelines for bus transportation. But when we looked at it, the thought process was that it's less than 15 minutes. And if we can provide that for those athletes, that would be a good thing. So everyone has an opportunity. But I guess for anyone listening, I would encourage people to continue to look at ways to get their middle schoolers that do attend Blanchard over to Stony, because at this point, we don't have a 100% clear understanding as to what the capacity is going to be and the overall registration limits for middle school sports.
And I just wanted to, that was my question, but I also just wanted to say, just thanks everyone involved for keeping things safe so that we can keep doing this. And as Bill said earlier, I still want students outside of sports world to be safe and not put themselves at risk. But the fact that we've managed to not have any transmission as far as we know, that's huge. Lets us keep doing that. So thanks to everyone, and a special shout out. I got to give a special shout out to, and I see he's on the line here, Brian Rourke, who, for those who don't know, at the WA football games, just is constantly making sure that the players are safe and distanced at 6 feet. And it is a thankless job, but he's making our students safe, and sometimes they need that little nudge from him. So he does a great job with that, and I know I always really have appreciated him doing that. So thank you, Brian.
And Chris, just if I can add, thank you for bringing that up. I do have a staff that's at games, and we're doing our best. We're learning all the time, but something that we've asked the student athletes to do their best to remain 6 feet apart on the sidelines when they're stationary, and Brian's doing an awesome job with that. And we've received several comments, just so that the group knows, and anyone listening, about our protocols and what we're doing at the academy and how we're following things and really taking it serious to keep everybody safe. And I guess this is a good time for me to thank all the coaches They're doing an awesome job. The student athletes, the parents, the community, just following the rules. I sent out a video to all of our student athletes for fall 2, asking them to do the right thing off the field. I was very confident they were going to continue to do the right thing on the field, but off the field was something that we had talked about, and a shout out to everyone for working hard and keeping everyone safe. So, we appreciate that, so we can continue to do what we're trying to do for our kids.
Other questions or comments? Avery.
Yeah.
I guess this is to Bill and the COVID committee. Are there circumstances that would arise at WA that the numbers are such that we feel that we would need to shut down sports?
I don't anticipate that. Jeff, any thoughts on that? I don't anticipate that at all, really.
Well, I would say that, just going back to what I just said, the students are working hard and families have done a really good job. Superintendent, as you mentioned earlier about parents not sending their students to school if they weren't feeling well, that message has gone out to all of our athletes. And athletes have missed practices at times because they weren't feeling well, and they're following all the rules. That there hasn't been, knock on wood, any documented transmissions on the field. And when something comes up, we've addressed it and worked diligently and hard to make sure that it doesn't spread. So Avery, hopefully to answer that question, we wouldn't be forced into a situation, but again, we will follow all the rules from the Board of Health if there's a situation on a team or a particular situation that we would need to follow, because our ultimate goal is a safe, sustainable season.
Thank you. I hope we can get the kids to keep playing.
I do too, and it's a joint effort. It really is between everyone. The work that everyone's done to make this happen. I mean, we have over 200 athletes in fall 2. We've got another 300 ready to go in the spring season, just at the high school. 8 different sports, 12 varsity programs, 21 individual teams, and then we add middle school into that. And I had a conference call today with the middle school liaisons, and with the support of Dr. Chu and Tim Hislop, we're going to work hard to educate all those coaches and all those students. We're slated for that to begin on May 5th, which is Wednesday, May 5th, would be the first day for middle school. That will give us some time for that school to get back full time, kind of understand their process as far as getting to school for full days, and then figuring out what we need to do to get back to sports for those sporting events that we're going to move forward with.
Any other comments or questions? Then if we're ready, I'll put a motion on the floor, and I'll move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to support spring athletics at Westford Academy for baseball, cheer, crew, lacrosse, softball, girls and boys tennis, track and field, and boys volleyball, subject to all MIAA and DCL modifications, and also at our middle school, baseball, softball, and track and field. I hope I got everything.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion before I call for the vote? Seeing none, vote to Avery.
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Alicia?
Aye.
Ming Chen?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
Aye. That would be unanimous. Thank you very much for joining us, Jeff. We wish you and the coaches and all our student athletes a successful and safe season.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I do want to do just a quick shout out to the WestfordCAT. That's something I should have mentioned earlier. Steve Edwards, Nick Woodbury, and our student media team has done an excellent job putting the games on YouTube, putting them on live television. We've worked with other communities to pick up their broadcasts, and we've done the same thing. So I'll take this as a real positive thing that's come out of this, that it's really expanded that media opportunity. So I did want to say that, you know, it's been it's been a solid relationship, and I appreciate everything they've done. So, and thank you to the group for your support, and we'll keep it going as safe and sustainable as we can. So thank you.
Shout out to the ghostwriter as well, because I've seen their updates on Instagram. I get the quarterly updates to see how things are going. So shout out to ghostwriter too.
Gloria, may I just say I want to thank Jeff for the extraordinary job he's done this year. I don't know if many people realize it in the public, but an athletic director in a school system has one of the busiest jobs of any job in the system. And they're going all year round. And so, Jeff, thank you very much for all of the work you put into it this year.
Well, I appreciate that. We're only as good as our support system around us, our coaches, our assistants, and our teams and everyone. So I really do appreciate that, and thank you all.
Fantastic. Moving on, we've got a job description for Facilities Operations Supervisor.
Yes, this is a job description that we presented to you, I want to say about 5 months ago now. It has not changed. However, the need has only increased and continued to increase for this particular position. So that I'm looking for your approval of this position. This is a person who would be very much in charge of overseeing jobs in the schools, assisting with bidding, with contract award, putting together some specifications. It's really a boots on the ground, up close and personal person monitoring the jobs, whether they're capital or maintenance in nature, both for the school system and for the town. As you can see here, we did agree with the town that since 90% basically of the square footage is in the school system, we've agreed with the town to do a 75%, yes, not 90, but 75% split with the town. They will pay 25, we'll pay the 75% of the salary. And I think that's very fair. The town has picked up a little bit larger percentage of the salary of Facilities Director Paul Fox, but this is an absolutely critical position. If you approve this job description, I will advertise this job immediately. I'll be in contact with the town manager first, because I think we want to get this. I strongly believe we want to get this person in place before the summer so that we can get going with the maintenance, capital improvement, and town and school safety task force projects.
Any questions from the committee? I know we had seen this job description previously. We had initially held off on it in the fall. We weren't sure what the school year would hold. We weren't sure what the needs were going to be. I do appreciate it, Bill, that we were able to work through the budget process and assess how this position impacted the budget, and that we were able to also, do some renegotiation with the town about how to apportion this and the facilities director positions. I appreciate the town's cooperation on that. Any other additional comments or questions before we vote on the job description? Seeing none, I will move that we approve the job description as indicated for the Facilities Operations Supervisor position.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, vote is to Avery.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Alicia.
Aye.
Ming Chen.
Aye.
Sean.
Aye.
Valerie.
Aye.
And aye. That is unanimous.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. And next we have a capital update regarding the student information system.
Well, just to start the discussion, we have had iPass as a product that addresses our student information management needs, but it is relatively outdated right now. The company, in my estimation, has not recapitalized and sort of reinvented the product and continued with the developments that we think are necessary. Kerry's done an excellent job with a committee that she put together to review, and so I'm going to turn it over to the person who's done all the work in terms of reviewing the available options.
Right, so I had the fun part of pulling together a committee of different staff members, some administrators, some teachers, our data specialist, and some administrative assistants, so that we had multiple perspectives at the table with those of us who use iPass more regularly. And the process started when I reached out to the other assistant superintendents throughout the state just to understand what system they use and how, whether or not they would recommend it. And then there were a few other follow-up questions on that. And we did, from that information, invite 3 different vendors in to come and provide a demo to the group. And prior to the demos, we actually developed a rubric of different areas that are a focus for Westford and probably most districts. We actually borrowed from a couple of resources that were shared from other districts. The 5 categories we looked at were student, staff, and parent access, data reporting, enrollment scheduling and attendance, grading and discipline, and finally support, security, and integration. And all 3 products seem to be very high quality, and we did end up scoring them in a quantitative way on a rubric, each individual person. And with the discussions that we had anecdotally, along with how the scoring ended up, we did move forward with, or are moving forward with, the recommendation of PowerSchool to be our vendor of choice for the student information system for next school year. Starting next year, we'll do a very careful rollout, and especially on the heels of this year, we want to make sure that we are rolling it out properly and not in a way that's incredibly overwhelming for staff, for parents. But we do think that with a full year of running both systems concurrently, which is typical when you're transitioning to a new student information system, that PowerSchool will be the perfect system to be by our side as we pilot the different areas with a large group of staff members who are willing to input data into both systems next school year. So we did get quotes after we went through the process of scoring and evaluating the 3 different vendors. And we were pleased to see that PowerSchool was similar to the other lower priced vendor, and then the higher price was about 30-something thousand higher. Now, PowerSchool was more in line with the higher price, but they gave us a $30-some-odd thousand discount, knowing that we were going to be running both systems and paying for both systems concurrently. So we'll continue to build, iPass is built into our FY22 operating budget for the reoccurring annual cost, as it always is. And we're looking to request the $70,668 for this PowerSchool for next year from the capital budget.
Thank you for clarifying that. I was wondering how this fit into capital, but since we would be running both programs this year, we would be looking for capital support. So presuming we decided to shift to PowerSchool, presumably that means after next year we would discontinue iPass, and then for the future we would fund PowerSchool through our regular operating budget, correct?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Got it. Any questions from the committee? We're not voting on this in any way, but since it did come up as part of our capital requests, I wanted to make sure that the committee and the community understood why this was being put forth, and we would certainly hope to get the support of our town partners and ultimately from the community at town meeting for this capital request. So any questions, Chris?
It's just a comment that this, sounds great. iPass, bless its heart, is a dinosaur, and it's time. So, and I think it's great that you're gonna run them concurrently next year. That's really smart. I think that'll help with any growing pains, obviously. And thanks to those staff members who it sounds like are volunteering to duplicate their effort in putting those things in both systems. So that's really appreciated. And I'm sure we'll save a lot of heartache and time the following year. So that sounds great.
And may I just say, Gloria, that Power School is a long established product that has great longevity and sustainability, and has been updated periodically by the company to remain very current. And so it's been a leader in the student information management industry for many, many years. So we're buying into a product that is that has been tested and stood the test of time.
Well, I think my kids are old enough that I remember when iPass was new, but I also know it hasn't changed very much in a very long time. So I can certainly understand the need to move forward with a more up-to-date, more robust product. So I think that'll be of really valuable help to our staff and to the entire community. I think it is time. So yeah, thank you for all the effort, Carrie, and for those who worked with you on finding a new product that would fit our budget needs and provide the services we need. Any other questions? Ming Chen.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is a great move. Preschool, just by looking into their website, they provide actually very modern user interface, and then also like the mobile app support. iPads as a dinosaur, we know like how hard it is to use, right? And then not only that, but also it increased productivity, which is something which teachers not going to actually spend less time than on the other system. And then also it's going to actually increase the workflow for the entire school system.
That's right.
Great choice.
Great, fantastic. Thank you for that update. Unless anybody else is waving at me, next item is the STEM curriculum coordinator job description.
Okay, so during a previous meeting, we had shared with you that we ended up restructuring the math and science curriculum coordinator position in grades 6 through 12 because we happen to have a vacancy in both of those positions for next year. One's a permanent vacancy and one is a one-year leave of absence. So with the math and science vacancies, we were looking at whether or not we could consolidate those two positions and kind of recreate a STEM curriculum coordinator that encompasses both science and math at the 6 through 12 levels. So we are excited to move forward with that. Upon approval, if the job description does get approved, then we'll be posting for this sooner rather than later so that we can move forward with the hiring process. But the idea is to continue with the curriculum leadership and best practices and professional development and all of the hard work that our coordinators do. But in this case, they will be overseeing the two subject areas, both math and science.
Questions or comments from the committee? I know this is the first time we're seeing the full description, but we've certainly discussed throughout the budget process the consolidation of these positions. So if the committee feels it's appropriate, I think it would be appropriate for us to vote on this evening, unless there's any questions or concerns about that, because we certainly have discussed this previously. It's not really a new item for us. I did have one question that was just, I know for our other curriculum coordinators, the curriculum coordinator is often doing the role of curriculum coordination across the grade levels 6 to 12, but is also serving in some sense as a department head at Westford Academy. So since this role would be encompassing both math and science 6 to 12, how does that dynamic change?
That's great. I'm glad you brought that piece up. We are looking to have a lead teacher at WA who serves as traditionally, they're known as department heads. We shifted away from that nomenclature. And that lead teacher would be a full-time teacher that already exists that would be stipended to take on some of that kind of more administrative duties of the printing and toner for the department, the textbook obligations, not in terms of selecting the text, that would be the curriculum coordinator, but the inventory, handling, rearranging schedules if new students enroll. So there are those other duties that tend to fall on the curriculum coordinators, but that we have split from this. So in the math department and the science department, there would be a current existing full-time teacher who would continue to be full-time, but would have a stipend for these duties moving forward.
And when we took into account the budgetary change of consolidating these positions, we took those stipends into account, correct?
Yes, we had pegged this for a $60,000 savings, and the reason was that there were each coordinator is a 0.8 administrator because they teach 0.2. So we took the 0.8 of one administrator plus the 0.8 of another administrator, so that's a total of 1.6. Now we're adding in this STEM 1.0, which is a 0.6 savings. And then of the 0.6 savings, we reduced those two stipends or deducted those two stipends, which landed us in that $60,000. So that was already accounted for in that savings that we proposed.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Questions, Valerie?
Just for my own understanding, can you like overview just the curriculum coordinators, how they're split up at different subject areas across the grade levels?
Sure. At the elementary level, we have two, when we're talking about the 4 content areas, we also have a K to 12 arts and music coordinator, and then a K to 12 wellness. In terms of the ELA, math, social studies, and science, at the K to 2 level, we have 2, a STEM, who has both math and science coordinator, as well as a humanities, who has both social studies and ELA. Then we have the same thing at 3 through 5, a STEM coordinator and a math and science, and then a humanities for social studies and ELA. So there are 4 total at the elementary, each have 2 subject areas. Then at 6 through 12, for those same 4 subject areas, we had 1 coordinator for each. So in this case, for the science and math, we're collapsing that into 1 role. We also have a world language coordinator in addition.
Sorry, just a follow-up to make sure I totally got that. So you're collapsing math and science at 6 to 12, and then you have is that 1 or 2 people that then do ELA at 6 to 12?
So then at 6 through 12, we don't have a collapsed humanities the way that we do it K to 2 and 3 through 5. We have 1 ELA coordinator and 1 history and social science coordinator.
Okay, great.
So they're 2 separate people.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody waving, so I'll put the motion on the floor. I move that we approve the job description for the secondary STEM curriculum coordinator, grades 6 through 12.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, vote to Avery,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Ming Chen,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
and I. So that would be unanimous. Thank you for all the work on that. I appreciate that an effort was made to kind of reevaluate, since there was an opening to take that opportunity to reevaluate whether a change in position made sense. I think this is an exciting change in position. I think it's really a great opportunity to look broadly at STEM in our schools, and I think that's great.
Thank you.
I also noticed in our packet we did have a job description for a school counseling coordinator. And I know that's not on our agenda for this evening, but I was wondering, is that kind of just some notice that that will be coming up at a future meeting?
Yes, we're looking to place that on the next agenda. Gloria, we wanted to give that to you far enough in advance to take a look at it. There's a team of Kerry and myself and Jim Antonelli, Cordy Moran, and Wendy Pikacek who met to talk about a little bit of a reconstitution of responsibilities, and we'll be glad to discuss that with you at the upcoming meeting.
Okay, great, thank you. I just wanted to let the committee and the public know it is there in the packet. It's not on our agenda this evening, so we wouldn't be discussing it tonight, but it is an opportunity for everyone to see it. So then when we address it at a future meeting, we would be prepared to take a vote. So I would encourage anybody in the public or on the committee, if you have questions about that job description, to reach out to the administration before our next meeting, when we would be taking a vote on that job description as well. Seeing no other business on our main agenda, and I'm also seeing nothing additional in the public air table, then we would be moving on to warrants.
Okay. Motion to approve warrant number 2142 SP dated April 15th, 2021 in the amount of $2,007,789.58.
Second.
And vote to Avery,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Ming Chen,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
aye. That's unanimous.
Motion to approve expense warrant 2142 SE dated April 15th, 2021 in the amount of $399,279.32.
Second.
Avery,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Ming Chen,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
aye. And moving on to minutes.
Motion to approve school committee meeting minutes regular session dated March 1st, March 29th, and April 5th of 2021.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, vote to Avery,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Ming Chen,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Motion to approve school committee meeting minutes, executive session not for public release, dated March 15th, March 18th, and March 22nd of 2021.
Second.
And all in favor, Avery,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Ming Chen,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Valerie.
Aye.
Aye. And no personnel update this evening. So thank you to Valerie and Nina for keeping us up to date on all of those minutes. And final motion to Alicia.
Motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss strategy with respect to Unit A and non-union personnel collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position. The committee will not return to public session.
And
Second.
thank you, Valerie. Vote is to Avery. Avery,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Alicia,
Aye.
Ming Chen,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Valerie.
Aye.
And I. Thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. As the motion states, we will be adjourning to executive session and not returning to public session this evening. But we will be back at our next meeting after April break on April 26th.